What's going on, NFL and fantasy football fans? It's the NFL Exporter. You are listening to another edition of the Final Wrap live on DerekShapiroShow.com. You've been here now, going on 17 weeks with me throughout the NFL season, a little bit longer if you even factor in the preseason. We've been here each and every Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, recapping all of your action from around the NFL and fantasy football on a week-to-week basis. Got the same thing going on here tonight. Before we hop into our first segment, let's make sure you know how to connect with us on our social networks. The easiest and most convenient way to keep up with the latest news and updates. You can follow me on Twitter at NFLExporter. Also go to Facebook.com/NFL-Exporter. Send a friend request over there. That page, very interactive. A lot of fantasy football owners over on that page. And then for behind the scenes footage and exclusive interviews, you can go to my channel over on YouTube.com. Just click on channels in the search engine, put NFL Exporter. For all the above, on Twitter, on Facebook, on YouTube, the spelling for NFL Exporter is NFLExporter. Also, call-in number to the show, 716 249-0552. Or if you prefer to hit me up using email, the email address is NFLExporter@yahoo.com. Just leave your name, your city and state, your favorite football team, and whatever it is you'd like for me to talk about, stick it in the email. I'll make sure to include it in one of our weekly segments to get things rolling as we always do. We first start off by recapping our fantasy football studs and duds from each week around the NFL. And for fantasy football owners out there, if you were still alive, this was a playoff game for you. For a lot of people, it's one step closer, this round was, to making it to the championship round. For others, it was an opportunity to move over into the semifinal rounds. Let's get things started at the QB position. Your top quarterbacks for the week: Drew Brees with 27 points, Eli Manning with 22, Tony Romo, Alex Smith, Matty Ice, all of those quarterbacks had 20. Tom Brady with 18 and Derek Anderson with 16. Out of those quarterbacks right there, you certainly like Drew Brees coming through for you in a playoff matchup. This is a guy who was drafted within the first 3 rounds, most notably in the first 2. Of course, depending on what type of draft format you were in and etc. But that's the type of performance we expect out of Drew Brees at the quarterback position. Big time performance by him. You also like Eli Manning. Has been an excellent spot play this week. Played against a very weak Redskins secondary. He certainly was a nice play. Tony Romo, another seasoned veteran. We know that the Eagles secondary, known to give up a lot of big plays. Dez Bryant Tony Romo was to connect with him for 3 TDs, so big performance there. Tom Brady's been steady all year with the 18 points, so you have to like that as well. This week we had a long list of busts or disappointments at the quarterback position. Some explanatory because of the situation surrounding them, but it starts with Ben Roethlisberger, 14 points. Now, he had 360 yards passing, but failed to throw a touchdown. And so you figure with 2 touchdowns in there, his numbers are up in the 20s. But disappointment. Certainly thought that Roethlisberger was going to be able to put more points up against Atlanta's defense. Andrew Luck, only 14 points. I think that was a situation there where the Texans' season essentially was on the line. Division foe, so they're very familiar with Andrew Luck and company having to try to contain J.J. Watt all day. And so I think Andrew Luck's performance, 187 yards, 2 TDs, and interception, I think more or less a product of just a very tough matchup against a division foe who, again, season was potentially on the line. Peyton Manning with 12 points, certainly a disappointment there. Just haven't been able to convert in the red zone. One thing you notice about Denver now, certainly rushing the football a lot more, as we've seen C.J. Anderson emerge as one of the top running backs in the NFL the last month or so. And so, in the red zone, he's not passing as much, and then the efficiency has been a bit down. Now, Peyton Manning was sick this week, a toe injury, but no excuse for 12 points against the San Diego Chargers defense. That is not what you expect out of Peyton Manning. It's not what you need from him in a playoff game. Matt Stafford, big-time disappointment, only 10 points, I can tell you, and they were very poor converting third downs. Therefore, they were unable to sustain drives. Mike Zimmer's defense out in Minnesota, what can you say? Playing extremely well. Again, another division foe, tough matchup. I have to give Mike Zimmer the credit, and I have to think that Matt Stafford and company were a little off, only completing 2 third down conversions throughout the course of the game. Just not really what you're looking for out of your quarterback in the fantasy football playoffs. Russell Wilson, I think his matchup was self-explanatory. Certainly had some opportunities there, but the 49ers defense again has been amongst the top 10 all year long from beginning to end. Their struggles have to do with their offense, so you expect more than 10 points from Russell Wilson, but playing the 49ers defense is not an easy task at all. Phillip Rivers, only 9 points, and this is something where I think a trend continues now. Earlier in the year, Rivers did have 3 touchdowns and 2 interceptions against Denver, but overall this year, Phillip Rivers, when it has come to playing the better teams in the NFL, the teams who are better defensively, he's not fared well. I gave you a stat maybe about three or 4 weeks ago telling you a trend that I noticed with Phillip Rivers, which was that playing the tough defenses, the Bills, the Cardinals, the Miami Dolphins, some defenses like that, Kansas City, he was only averaging about 11 points a game. And so here he was again, only 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Denver just a better ball club, but inexcusable for Phillip Rivers not even to get double digits. All of these quarterbacks, Mark Sanchez, only 6 points. I think that, again, it's starting to show why the Jets let him go erratic with the football, not accurate throwing the football down the field, and that's an element of the offense that Chip Kelly wants there. Aaron Rodgers just came against a buzzsaw of a defense in the Buffalo Bills right now. He did have Jordy Nelson potentially drop a touchdown, but it was a rough day for Rodgers at the office. You certainly expect more than 5 points from Aaron Rodgers. He gets that in one drive sometimes, so just very odd, but man, great job by Buffalo's defense. Andy Dalton, only 2 points, just continues to be a liability for this Cincinnati Bengals offense. They had a big game running the football, yet he still finds a way to make a turnover, so that's why he's not in people's lineups, especially this time of year. You just cannot trust this guy. Looking at those quarterbacks who didn't perform so well, again, I think the biggest disappointments had to be Ben Roethlisberger against Atlanta, Peyton Manning against San Diego, Matt Stafford against Minnesota, and Mark Sanchez against the Cowboys. Just absolutely unacceptable there. Moving over to the running back position, top running backs were Jeremy Hill, the Bengals, 26, Le'Veon Bell of the Steelers, 23, DeMarco Murray from the Cowboys, as well as Nile Davis from the Kansas City Chiefs had 20, Eddie Lacy had 16, Marshawn Lynch 15. Taking a look at those running backs right there, the biggest thing to note is that DeMarco Murray suffered a late game injury to his hand. His status for this upcoming week is uncertain, so that's big. If you have him on your fantasy football team, I would immediately go and get backup running back Joseph Randle. If he's not available, perhaps the third down and probably the back they're using more in passing situations. Dunbar, you may want to get him, but it is a 50-50, and I think it's really sketchy because even if Murray plays, how effective can he be? Will he hurt his hand again? That's just a huge question mark that you're going to have to answer. Jeremy Hill, rookie running back for the Cincinnati Bengals, been sensational this year. This was his 3rd game, already up over 140 yards rushing, just continues to be an absolute monster. When he gets to start, he now has that job firmly in place. Le'Veon Bell continues to impress on a week-to-week basis. All-purpose performer, over 100 yards there. Again, 2 more TDs. He is certainly working his way to the top of the running back ladder in fantasy football this year. Eddie Lacy, tough matchup against the Bills. 16 points, certainly made his owners feel very confident about his prospects regardless of who they face moving forward. So that was strong there. Looking at your duds this week, it was Isaiah Crowell with 2. Alfred Morris with 4, Justin Forsett with 4, Jamal Charles with 5, Jonathan Stewart with 5, Latavius Murray with 6, and Shady McCoy of the Philadelphia Eagles with 6. Taking a look at that running back list of players there, I certainly think Crowell was a bit of a disappointment. With Johnny Manziel being in there, I think they should have fed him the football a little more. But you certainly expect more than 2 points from Crowell, who now is the starter out in Cleveland. Alfred Morris, you want to note him, suffered a groin injury. Don't know the status for this week's game, but make sure you keep eyes on him throughout the week. Justin Forsett faced a very tough Jacksonville Jaguars defense. Gus Bradley, again, having that group play very well this year. Jamal Charles suffered a injury in the third quarter, concussion type. He should be good to go for this week, but he did not finish that game. You figure if he gets in the end zone there, that will bump him up to double digits. Jonathan Stewart had a fumble to take a couple points off his 73 yards. We kind of told you about Latavius Murray. Just not a good matchup there against the Kansas City Chiefs. The guy we're obviously looking at and disappointed on this list is Shady McCoy with only 6 points. And again, when I look at fantasy owners this year, the reason McCoy was ranked in the top 5 and he's there with rushing yards, but it's those touchdowns. And this year, if you're looking at Darren Sproles and Carlos Polk with 9 rushing touchdowns, Shady McCoy with only 4. That's the reason that you don't see McCoy on the studs list on a weekly basis. If you look at a guy like Le'Veon Bell, who only had 40 yards rushing, DeMarco Murray, not the best week, 80 yards rushing, but both of those guys were able to get carries inside of the 10-yard line and capitalize and score touchdowns. And for Shady McCoy, he's not getting those same opportunities this year. And so instead of being the guy this week, you tack on 2 touchdowns. The Eagles had 2 opportunities at goal line touchdowns, and they gave it to other people. McCoy would have 18. If you look at if he had all 9 of those, he'd be at 13. You take a couple off, but he should definitely be up around the 8-9 touchdown range instead of 4 on the year. Owners certainly have to be very dissatisfied with his efforts throughout the course of the season. Odell Beckham Jr. leads the way for the wide receivers, 30 points, had 3 touchdowns. Dez Bryant matched that, 29 points, but he had 3 touchdowns as well. Demaryius Thomas continues to be a mainstay on this list, another 123 yards and a touchdown. Mike Wallace of the Dolphins, 100 yards and a TD. That was good for 16. Then we had a couple guys tied at 14. Devin Hester, 85 yards in a tug, along with Julian Edelman, 88 in the tug. Both of those guys, 14 points to round out our top 5. Certainly looking at the top receivers here, there's no question. You look at these top 3 guys, big time, and they're going to be around for a long time. If you look at Odell Beckham Jr., 12 catches, 143 yards, 3 touchdowns. I don't know what else you can say about this kid. You just hope that he continues to stay hungry, stays focused. Obviously want him to stay healthy. And to be a rookie, this guy has a huge ceiling ahead of himself, so just a big-time performer there. Dez Bryant certainly showing why he's one of the top 5 receivers in the NFL, demanding the money that he's going to receive in the offseason. Huge performance there, just absolutely dominated that Eagles secondary. And Demaryius Thomas, without question, as long as Peyton Manning is the quarterback for Denver, this is a guy you can count on for big-time stats on a weekend and season in and out basis. There's no question about that. Taking a look now, this is another list here that's very disturbing this week, but a lot of these guys we had question marks about. Josh Gordon, handcuffed to Johnny Manziel's bad situation, only 4. A.J. Green, handcuffed to a shaky quarterback and a tough matchup in Cleveland, only 4 points. T.Y. Hilton, held in check by Houston. He torched him for over 200 yards the first time. Also tweaked his hamstring, only 5 points. Emmanuel Sanders, I think Peyton Manning in that offense just wasn't as sharp, so he only had 5 points. Jordy Nelson dropped a potential touchdown. The catch at least would have had him up over 100 yards, but that was a pivotal play. He only had 5 points. Calvin Johnson, don't understand how he's on this list at all. Played against Minnesota. 23 out of his 53 yards came on one play. Unbelievable there. Mike Evans did have a touchdown, but that was it. 1 catch for 18 yards. And DeAndre Hopkins, another guy we weren't too high on coming into this week with Ryan Fitzpatrick at quarterback in a away game against an Indianapolis defense that defends the pass rather well. No Andre Johnson, so definitely didn't like that matchup. Out of this list, like I said, you're looking at Josh Gordon. With Johnny Manziel at quarterback, you certainly are looking at his stock being down. Sure, he can make some things happen, but you're certainly taking a risk there. A.J. Green, he's a top flight receiver. You have to have him in every week and live and die with the consequences unless you have some bona fide guys in front of him. T.Y. Hilton, as long as he's healthy, I expect him to rebound this week against Dallas. Emmanuel Sanders, same thing. I think as long as he's with Peyton Manning in that offense, he'll continue to do well. Jordy Nelson, the disappointment, again, drop a potential touchdown. I'm quite sure this week playing Tampa Bay, he'll go ahead and get that back for his owners. Calvin Johnson playing against Chicago, same thing. You certainly are going to get more than 50 yards out of there. Mike Evans playing at Green Bay. I certainly think that that's going to be a game where Tampa has to pass a lot, so you like the prospects of his stats going back up. And DeAndre Hopkins playing at home against the Ravens. They going to have a new quarterback, so really don't know what to expect from him this week. He is playing a suspect Ravens secondary, but their front seven can certainly get after the quarterback. Moving over to the tight end position, Rob Gronkowski once again leading the way, 15 points. Next, it was Josh Hill of the New Orleans Saints with 13. Next, you had Owen Daniel with 12, Antonio Gates and Greg Olsen with 11, Delaney Walker and Travis Kelce with 9. When I look at this list, obviously Josh Hill is going to stand out to me. Instead of it being Jimmy Graham with the 2 touchdowns receptions, it's Josh Hill. And to be a fantasy owners, it just drives you crazy seeing that type of thing happen there. But obviously defenses are draped all over Graham. I can't imagine Drew Brees wouldn't get him the football for any other reason. Also taking a look at this list, you'd like to see Greg Olsen back up here. He's continuing to really he's having a solid year across the board. Travis Kelce, the rookie from Kansas City, he's a good look as well. And then Antonio Gates finding the pay dirt. That's a good look too, 56 yards. He showed up against the Denver Broncos. Only a couple tight ends didn't show up this week. Larry Donald, surprisingly, 1 point. Again, played that poor Redskins secondary. Not sure how he didn't get a little bit more yardage than that. Jordan Reed continues to be a huge disappointment for the Redskins. Only 1 point. Kobe Fleener got left out of the equation this week, but again, Andrew Luck held to 187 passing yards, so certainly much lower than the yardage he throws for. And Julius Thomas got back out there for the first time with Denver. They really didn't look for him in the red zone. Really don't know what to expect from him moving forward now. He's a true enigma in fantasy football. Moving over to our defense special teams, you have the Ravens with 23, the Bills with 18, the Patriots with 18, Kansas City with 17, New Orleans with 16, and then an honorable mention goes to Cincinnati and its Houston Texans. Cincinnati pitching a shutout against rookie quarterback Johnny Manziel, and the Texans getting a nice pick 6 from one of their defensive backs against Andrew Luck and company. Looking at those top defense special teams, the Ravens took full advantage of rookie Blake Bortles. I know that was one of the top picks of the week. Also had a punt return for a touchdown. Buffalo Bills continuing to show how dominant they are. Held Aaron Rodgers without a touchdown, got him for a couple interceptions, also ran back a punt for a touchdown. Patriots were able to block a field goal, running back for a touchdown, a couple interceptions against Ryan Tannehill. Kansas City got a punt return for a touchdown from rookie DeAnthony Thomas. And then the New Orleans Saints got 7 sacks, 3 interceptions from Drew Brees and company on Monday Night Football. So great job by them. As far as defense special teams this week, there weren't any disappointments. Every defense pretty much did what was expected. Last but not least, moving over to our kickers, Connor Barth of the Broncos with 18. This guy's been an excellent free agent pickup for those owners who've been able to utilize him. He's averaging double digits every single week. Josh Scobie of the Jacksonville Jaguars, a little bit unexpected there, certainly understandable, but seeing him with 17 points, pretty impressive. I don't think too many owners had him in their lineup. Dan Carpenter out for the Buffalo Bills continues to be a top 10 kicker all year, 16 points at home against Green Bay. Chandler Carnazano certainly understood that was a field goal fest out there between Arizona and St. Louis, 16 points. Then you have Mike Nugent out in Cincinnati, Graham Gano out in Carolina with 14, and Ryan Suckup for the Titans with 12. Looking at your kickers' disappointments this week, certainly Nick Novak, only 2 points. Phillip Rivers in that offense against Denver, that's unexplainable. questionable. Steven Hauschka, 5 points. He should have had another field goal tacked on, but it was a bad call in that game that essentially erased a third down stop by the 49ers, in which Seattle would have had to kick and gave Seattle a first down, in which they scored a touchdown. Adam Vinatieri at home against Houston, certainly expect more than 5 points there. And then Justin Tucker at home against Jacksonville, you certainly expect more than 6 points from him. That's going to wrap up our fantasy football segment for this week. We're going to run to a quick break. When we return, we're going to start recapping our Week 15 games from around the NFL. All right, everyone. Welcome back to the final wrap live on the Derek Shapiro Show with your host, the NFL Exporter. And let's go ahead and start recapping our Week 15 action from around the NFL. Things got started on Thursday night with the defensive battle out in St. Louis. It was the Arizona Cardinals improving to 11-3 by beating the St. Louis Rams 12-6. We knew this was going to be a defensive battle with two of the top 10 defenses in the NFL playing against two second-string quarterbacks, and it really ended up being the mistakes by St. Louis essentially that cost them this game. Again, the score being 12-6. St. Louis had 2 turnovers. Were only able to get field goals and 2 trips inside of the 10-yard line. They were also held to 69 rushing yards. When you look at Arizona, playing on the road with a backup quarterback, did the things they needed to do, which was run the football effectively, 143 rush yards, and not turn the football over. And that ended up being the difference in the ball game. With that win, now Arizona assured a spot in the playoffs. So great job once again by head coach Bruce Arians and the Arizona Cardinals. St. Louis drops to 6-8. Their playoff hopes are now dashed, but I expect them to finish the season strong. And this is definitely a team that has a bright future ahead of them if they can handle their business through the draft, free agency, and grooming the existing talent that they have on the squad. Next, it was the Pittsburgh Steelers knocking off the Atlanta Falcons 27-20. That win improved Pittsburgh to 9-5 on the season. They're currently in the driver's seat and in control of their own destiny for a wild card spot. The loss dropped Atlanta to 6-8, and in this game, again, Pittsburgh ended up winning by a touchdown. It was a costly interception that Matt Ryan threw. That defensive back Gay ran back 52 yards for a touchdown. If he happened to miss this play, it was actually the wide receivers, Harry Douglas. He was the one who really should have really taken the blame for this interception. He was basically running a crossing route across the field, and when Matty Ice threw the football and a defender basically kind of emerged, instead of continuing to run straight across to try to catch the ball or knock it down or even stop the interception, Douglas ran behind the defender, and so ended up being a costly play there. If you look at the stats in this ball game, pretty even, down the middle. Neither team was able to run the football that effectively. Steven Jackson, Le'Veon Bell both held to under 50 yards rushing the football. Certainly through the air, what we expected. Both of these defenses, in particular, secondaries not playing too well. Matt Ryan had 310 passing yards, 2 TDs, but that crucial interception. Ben Roethlisberger had 360 yards passing, however, unable to throw a touchdown. When you look out in the wide receiver position, Harry Douglas filled in for Julio Jones, 10 catches, 131 yards. Antonio Brown for the Pittsburgh Steelers continues to be the top receiver in the NFL, another 10 catches for 123 yards. And this is the thing that you love about Le'Veon Bell. Even though he was held to under 50 yards on the ground, had 5 catches for 72 yards, and also had 2 short rushing touchdowns. So very versatile running back, can basically do it all. Has certainly emerged as one of the top running backs in the NFL in only his second year. Moving on now, you have the New York Giants beating the Washington Redskins 24-13, and I think this game pretty much went how anticipated as far as the final score was concerned. I think when you looked at this matchup coming into this game, you seen the Redskins offense struggling mightily, continuing to have a carousel going at the quarterback position, and even though that Washington does a decent job stopping the run, their secondary struggles against the pass. You looked at the Giants, their offense had been playing a little bit better, more in rhythm as of late. Eli Manning able to keep the turnovers down for the most part. Odell Beckham Jr. I think potentially is the one that you saw causing problems, and he did just that. 12 catches, 143 yards, 3 touchdowns for this all-rookie performer. I think at this point, if he continues the way at the pace that he's playing now, he's going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year honors, and rightfully so. Very impressive, this young man is. I think we are all excited about his future. Granted, he doesn't have any serious injuries or just doesn't, get lazy or caught up in the celebrity and fame. This guy's future is very bright. He could very well end up being one of the best wide receivers we've seen in a long time. Eli Manning, 250 yards, 3 TDs, again able to keep the turnovers down. Robert Griffith III ended up entering this ball game due to Colt McCoy re-injuring his neck. He looked decent, 18 out of 27, 236 yards and a TD. Pivotal play in this game, obviously, is when Griffith III escaped the pocket, went in for a rushing touchdown, and as he dove to cross the plane of the end zone, the goal line, he lost control of the ball temporarily enough to the point that they end up calling the play a touchback. Because when he landed, the ball came out of his hands, but he thought he already had crossed the end zone. The referees ruled that the ball went out of the end zone. So that was a pivotal play there. It would have given Washington a 17-7 halftime lead, and that play really took the life out of Washington. You could kind of sense that as the Giants came out in the second half and really handled business. When you look at this as well, something that hurt the Redskins, 10 penalties for 135 yards. So they continue to struggle. They're now 3-11. The Giants again 5-9. Next, we've seen the New England Patriots wrap up their 6th straight AFC East title by dismantling the Miami Dolphins 41-13. New England now 11-3 on the season, and they control their own destiny if they win their last 2 games or end with the same record as the Denver Broncos, who are 11-3 as well. New England will have a first-round bye in home field advantage throughout the playoffs, and it's a situation and a scenario we become all too familiar with when it comes to Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, and this organization. It's very impressive what they're able to do on a year in and year out basis. And again, with Belichick and Brady being the brains and the body behind this team for so long, it's just a winning culture that they've definitely established there. Taking a look inside the numbers, Tom Brady again continues to be one of the best in the business. 287 yards, 2 TDs, an interception. Ryan Tannehill the other day struggled a bit, put up 346 yards, but didn't play that well. Had a touchdown, but 2 interceptions. This was a 14-13 game at halftime. Tannehill connected with Mike Wallace, who had 5 catches for 104 yards and a touchdown. One of the better catches of the year. Nice one-handed grab, was able to keep his body in. Cut that lead to 14-13 at halftime, but it was really Tom Brady, and this is one of the things that those intangibles, one of those things that makes him a team leader and one of the best players in the NFL. Wasn't happy with the way that his team performed in the first half. I think essentially knowing that what was at stake, wrapping up their division at home, beating a team that beat them the first game of the season, and on the first drive of the second half, Brady scrambled out of the pocket, and usually, Brady will slide or get out of bounds, but he decided to challenge a defender. Took the guy head on. The guy ended up tackling him out of bounds, and Brady got up, fired up, and his teammates they really fed off of that. You could really see that, and again, just an intangible that Tom Brady has to get his team pumped up. His team understands he's a guy who doesn't run, he slides, he gets out of bounds. So to see him actually, go head to head with a defender, it really energized the ball club. And in that play, the next play I should say, the Patriots scored and never looked back. They outscored Miami 28-0 in the second half of this ball game, and continue to again exude their dominance over the AFC East. Through the air, Rob Gronkowski 96 yards and and a touchdown. Julian Edelman, 7 catches for 88 yards and a touchdown. I would certainly say New England is getting primed and ready for another deep playoff and Super Bowl run. Next, Kansas City beat Oakland 31-13. Chiefs able to exact revenge after that horrible outing they had a couple weeks ago out in Oakland on Thursday Night Football. That game Kansas City lost, gave Oakland its first win of the season. And Kansas City really didn't waste much time getting things going early. Rookie DeAnthony Thomas returned a punt 81 yards for a touchdown, and the Chiefs really picked up the momentum from there. Did a great job holding Oakland to just 5 of 16 third down conversions. Really didn't allow much on the ground. Derek Carr was 27 out of 56 passes, did have a touchdown, lost a fumble, but throwing the football that many times certainly is not a recipe for success. For Kansas City, Alex Smith efficient with the football, 297 yards, 2 TDs, no interceptions. Niles Davis fielded nice for Jamal Charles, who did start and play in this game, ended up leaving late with concussion symptoms, and so we'll have to see how that plays out, but he should pretty much be good to go. But again, Niles Davis had a nice game in his absence, 81 yards, 2 touchdowns, including a 70-yard TD scamper. And Travis Kelce had 5 catches for 59 yards, another touchdown, a rookie, certainly doing a great job. Kansas City still alive in the wild card hunt at 8-6, while the Raiders, we all know, have been done for quite some time, now dropped to 2-12. Next, you had the Indianapolis Colts knocking off the Houston Texans 17-10. That win gave the Indianapolis Colts another AFC South title. They've won that division the first 3 years that Andrew Luck has been there, so obviously this kid's a big-time winner. When you look inside the numbers of this game, very, very close game. Houston held Indianapolis to just 2 out of 12 third down conversions. Arian Foster did have 99 yards on the ground, but they held him in check, only averaged about 3 yards a carry. And Indianapolis defense is a group very underrated, played well at home, took advantage of Ryan Fitzpatrick at quarterback, who unfortunately his season is done due to a leg injury. Once the rookie Tom Savage came in, they took full advantage of him, held him to 127 yards and an interception. Andrew Luck, again, not the best game, 187 yards, did have 2 TDs and 1 interception. I think when you look at this Indianapolis, the team still struggling to run the football a little bit. Between their 2 running backs, 20 carries for 92 yards. So, again, good win by Indianapolis. It's not easy to win. I think, again, Houston was a team who was fighting for its season. They're a division foe, so they're very familiar with them. It's never easy containing J.J. Watt and company. So nice effort by Houston. Just not enough pieces this year to get it done. Houston also played this game without wide receiver Andre Johnson, who suffered a concussion last week, so they were down one of their bigger weapons and team leaders in this one. In our next game, we've seen the Baltimore Ravens barely edge out the Jacksonville Jaguars 20-12. The win for Baltimore now has them at 9-5. They're the other team in control of their own destiny in the wild card hunt right now. Jacksonville now 2-12. In this game, it was really about both of these teams' defense. Jacksonville's defense, we've given head coach Gus Bradley tons of credit over the past couple weeks about how well he's gotten his defense to respond and play the second half of the season. When you play the Jaguars now, it's certainly not an easy out or a given that you're just going to roll them over. When you look at the stats in this one, though, it was Baltimore's defense more dominant, and as you would expect, being able to take advantage of rookie quarterback Blake Bortles, who came into this game with 16 interceptions in his first 11 starts. And so, Jacksonville also played this game without Denard Robinson. He, without question, was their top playmaker. You take him out of the equation, the Ravens' run defense amongst the top in the NFL, and they were able to get to Blake Bortles 8 times as far as sacks were concerned. They also blocked the punt and ran that back for a touchdown, and so really made life miserable on the rookie, as you would expect. For Baltimore, no, not that impressive. Joe Flacco still being inconsistent at offense, just not able to do what it needs to do in convincing fashion, and surprisingly, most of the time it's at home. But Joe Flacco only 221 passing yards, a touchdown. Justin Forsett held in check, 16 carries for 48 yards. It was Owen Daniels who was the top receiver for Baltimore this week. The tight end had 62 receiving yards as well as a touchdown. Moving on to our next game, this was my upset special of the week, and it came through. It was the Buffalo Bills knocking off the Green Bay Packers 21-13. Green Bay now dropping to 10-4. They're now tied with the Detroit Lions and actually a half game back because Detroit beat them head to head. They're now 10-4. Buffalo Bills hope still alive at 8-6 in the playoffs. They're going to need a lot of help to get in. But in this game, they did an excellent job holding Aaron Rodgers and Green Bay's offense to just 4 out of 14 on third down conversions. Aaron Rodgers not even completing 50% of his passes. Had 185 yards, 2 interceptions. Bills just were wreaking havoc on him all day long. The big thing you looked at in this one is Jordy Nelson, who finished this game with 55 receiving yards, dropped a potential 94-yard touchdown. He at least would have gotten to maybe 60 or 70 yards on the play if he would have got caught by behind. So that was key. That was a big play. It certainly changed a lot of momentum in that game. Eddie Lacy did a good job on the ground, 97 yards in the TD. But ultimately, it was Buffalo's defense that won this game. If you look at the stats on offense for Buffalo, Fred Jackson, 20 carries, 71 yards. Sammy Watkins, 1 catch, 28 yards. Kyle Orton, only 158 yards passing and an interception. Yet it was the Bills' defense who returned a punt for a touchdown. Also got a safety at the end of the game to win this. Also had 2 interceptions against Aaron Rodgers and did not allow a single touchdown pass. So, our hats are off to the Bills. There's not enough credit we can give their defense right now and defensive coordinator Jim Schwartz. When you're talking about back-to-back weeks of holding Peyton Manning and Aaron Rodgers, probably the two best quarterbacks in the NFL right now, aside from Tom Brady, holding those guys in back-to-back weeks with no touchdown passes, under 200 yards passing, that's saying a lot. And getting 5 interceptions total. That is saying an awful lot. And so our hats go off to the Bills defense. Great job by those guys playing championship caliber. This is a team that, Lord, if they had some offense, they could seriously be considered a Super Bowl contender. Their defense is playing that dominant. Let's run to a quick commercial break. When we come back, it'll be more of the final wrap with the NFL Exporter live on the Derek Shapiro Show, so stay tuned. Thank you for returning to the final wrap live on the Derek Shapiro Show. As always, I'm your host, the NFL Exporter. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at NFLExporter. Also, send a friend request to me over on Facebook.com/NFL Exporter. And don't forget, for behind the scenes footage and exclusive interviews, make sure you subscribe to my channel, YouTube.com. Click on channels in the search engine. Put NFL Exporter. Spelling for all of the above is NFLExporter. Now jumping back into our week 15 games, we've seen the Carolina Panthers knock off the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 20-16. The Panthers are now 5-8-1 in just a half game behind the New Orleans Saints for the NFC South Division Lead. Tampa Bay 2-12 season been over for quite some time. Cam Newton, starting quarterback for the Panthers, did not play in this one. Was in a car accident earlier in the week. Had some damage done to his back. Not quite sure when he's going to return. Carolina certainly wants to make sure they have him for his career, not just this year. And so they're going to monitor his status on the week-to-week basis. Have already came out and said if he can't protect himself, then he is not going to play. In this game, it was 3 costly turnovers by Tampa Bay that ultimately led to 15-plus minutes in time of possession for the Carolina Panthers. Jonathan Stewart was able to pace things on the ground, 22 carries, 73 yards, although he did lose a fumble. Derek Anderson Jefferson, the backup for Cam Newton, beat Tampa Bay for the second time this year. Had nice distribution, 277 yards and a touchdown pass. Found Greg Olsen, big-time tight end, 10 catches for 110 yards, and also Calvin Benjamin, 5 catches for 104 yards. And so Carolina, after a very shaky season, and obviously with a losing record, I think that speaks volumes about how good their team is, or maybe how well the team is not playing. But with only 2 games left in the season and a half game behind New Orleans, they certainly have a shot to win their division. So I'm quite sure they're going to play hard. For Tampa Bay, really not a lot going on. Now, Doug Martin had 14 carries for 96 yards. Not quite sure how he didn't get more yardage or carries. I'm thinking obviously Tampa Bay had to get a little bit behind, or maybe Martin was just able to bust off a big run. But Josh McCown continues to struggle. Only 154 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. The touchdown was to rookie Mike Evans, but he was held in check all day with just 3 catches for 18 yards. Moving on to our next game, it was the Cincinnati Bengals shutting out the Cleveland Browns 30-0. Cincinnati hanging on by a thread, a half game ahead of Pittsburgh and Baltimore in that AFC North division. Cincinnati now 9-4-1. Cleveland pretty much done this year, 7-7. Their shot at the playoffs looking bleak to almost none. In this one, it was all about Cincinnati's defense shutting down rookie quarterback Johnny Manziel. Manziel in his NFL debut, look how you would think a NFL rookie quarterback who is not ready to play in the NFL would look. Manziel, 80 yards, 2 interceptions, sacked 3 times, just couldn't get anything going out there. And all of the things that I think we know about Johnny Manziel were pretty much exposed. He's not that tall, so he has a little bit of trouble passing out of the pocket. Accuracy not there. Guys are much faster in the NFL, so the plays he used to make in college as far as running the football aren't that easy. Some of his turnovers were just plays that you could tell he's inexperienced, and I mean, again, it was his first start. I'm one of those guys who I'm not sold on Manziel. I don't know if he's going to even be a good quarterback in the NFL, but I don't have anything personal against him. I think like any other player, if he works hard enough and is talented, then at some point, it'll come through in the next couple years. But we all know the quarterback position, one of the most difficult to play in the NFL, and especially when you have the defense charged up to play you. With Johnny Manziel's celebrity off the football field, teams are chomping at the bit to get at this guy. So again, great performance by Cincinnati's defense, giving this guy a warm welcome into the NFL. Meanwhile, with Johnny Manziel and Cleveland's offense being so ineffective, it was Cincinnati who was able to just churn it out on the ground. Hugh Jackson, how many times have we seen it this year? 45 carries for 244 yards. Rookie running back Jeremy Hill led the way with 148 of those and 2 touchdowns. And that was pretty much your ball game, ladies and gentlemen. Andy Dalton really didn't do much in the air, 117 yards, an interception. He really continues to limit Cincinnati's offense. And it's the silly mistakes, He's got to find a way to cut down on these plays that at some point is going to hurt and cause his team to lose. You look at A.J. Green in the year, only 35 receiving yards. He was pretty much held in check. Again, though, this was really about Cincinnati's defense dominating, as well as Cincinnati's running game dominating as well. New York Jets beat the Tennessee Titans 16-11. I think this was probably a game that nobody, with the exceptions of Jets and Tennessee fans, had any cares about in the world. The Jets now 3-11, Tennessee 2-12. Both of these teams struggled like you thought they would. Offenses not playing well. You have Tennessee with the 1 costly turnover, losing by 5. That's a possession there. The Jets only 2 of 13 on third down conversions, but Geno Smith was able to pass for 179 yards and a touchdown. Eric Decker had 7 catches for 100 yards. Nate Washington, really one of the last troops left out in Tennessee, did have 6 catches for 120 yards. But again, this game, not a lot of action. It did see Jets running back Chris Johnson return back to Tennessee for the first time since he had been traded in the offseason He only had about 55 rushing yards, and again, with a 16-11 game between two teams that basically had the same record at 3-11 and 2-12, I think it just tells you how bad both of these teams are. Denver was able to clinch the AFC West title by beating San Diego 22-10. Broncos now 11-3, again just a half game behind New England, who beat them head-to-head for home field throughout the playoffs. San Diego still alive at 8-6, but they are reeling, and they are reeling fast. It was San Diego with another 2 turnovers. Phillip Rivers just continues to struggle against the top defenses in the NFL. And San Diego's offense right now, if you look at sometimes stats can be a little deceiving, but it's exactly what it is for San Diego. They can't run the football. They're, I believe, ranked around 29th or 30th right now. I know maybe about a month ago they were ranked 31st. If you can't run the football in the NFL, then you're going to have some problems on your hands, especially when you have a quarterback like Phillip Rivers who's unable to escape pressure once it comes. And so 56 yards rushing by San Diego. And let's give Denver credit. Many people don't know this. The Broncos' rush defense is ranked 2nd in the NFL. And so, those guys up front, very tough against the run. I think that's an area very underrated. You have to give defensive coordinator Jack Del Rio a lot of credit for getting that front 7 in order. For Denver, on the other hand, Peyton Manning, 233 passing yards, a touchdown. The main thing you're seeing from Denver right now is them unleash the rushing attack. They're really getting a balance, 39 carries for 111 yards. And as Peyton Manning mentioned, as long as they're winning ball games, it does not bother him whatsoever. Demaryius Thomas continues to do damage through the air, 6 catches, 123 yards in the TD, and one of the best free agent pickups this year, even though it's later in the season. How about Connor Barth for Denver? 4-4 on field goals, has not missed in his first 4 games since coming over to the Denver Broncos. So excellent job by him. Next, Detroit was barely able to escape the clutches of the Minnesota Vikings, 16-14. It took a blocked field goal by Detroit defensive lineman Jason Jones to help Detroit hold on to this football game. When you want to know why Detroit put up 16 points, as I mentioned earlier, when we talked about Matt Stafford being one of the underachievers for fantasy football this week, Detroit only 2 out of 11 converting third downs. When you convert third downs at that low of a percentage, it means that your drives are not being sustained and your offense is not on the football field. Matthew Stafford, only 153 passing yards, a touchdown. Calvin Johnson, 4 catches for 53 yards. Golden Tate, 7 catches for 38 yards. He did have a TD. Drake Bell, only 15 carries for 62 yards. So, I mean, you have to give Mike Zimmer and this Minnesota Vikings defense tons of credit. This is a division foe. Obviously, they're very familiar with them. The first time these two teams played, Calvin Johnson didn't play, Reggie Bush didn't play. So I figured that those 17 points that Detroit put up in Minnesota had more or less to do with that. Well, this game was in Detroit. And as a matter of fact, Teddy Bridgewater had 2 interceptions. Minnesota's defense having to get on the field for 2 extra possessions still held Detroit to 16 points. So I've got to take my hat off. This is another defense and a head coach, Mike Zimmer, who's done an excellent job. Detroit now at 10-4, in control of their own destiny. They've got 2 division games left. The last one being at Green Bay. That one ultimately could be for the division title. Both those teams again now 10-4. And we had Seattle knocking off San Francisco 17-7. In this ball game, I think it went exactly how we expected and planned. It was Seattle's defense stymieing San Francisco offense, which unable to put up enough points. And Seattle's offense can do what it needs to put up enough points, and that's plain and simple. When you look at this game, very evenly matched. Look, neither one of these teams ran the football that much better than the other. Both teams right around 130 yards rushing. Colin Kaepernick had 141 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Russell Wilson, pretty much the same stats, 168 yards. Now, he did have 1 TD, but he also threw an interception. And in a game this close, you would think that the turnovers would determine it, but it was actually Seattle who had the 1 turnover. ultimately San Francisco unable to move the football through the air. Michael Crabtree and Quan Bolden combined 5 catches, 42 yards. I mean, they just can't get open. I mean, plain and simple, they just can't get open. Seattle did have 6 sacks, but San Francisco 5. And again, it's just disturbing if you look at how well San Francisco's defense plays. Their offense just can't put up any points, and I guess that is the name of the game for a lot of defenses around the NFL. I guess if you take a look at Buffalo, take a look at Minnesota, how well those defenses are playing, we could even look out in Jacksonville. But those offense unable to manufacture points, the levee breaks at some time. Their team ends up losing the ball game. Now, there was a very controversial call in this game that the NFL referees and the NFL league office have since now apologized. Russell Wilson dropped back to pass. It was a 3rd down. He threw an incomplete pass. A 49er made a hard hit on Russell Wilson, but it was clean. The referees called a personal foul for roughing the passer, gave Seattle a brand new life. They had a 1st down and were able to score a touchdown instead of being held to a field goal. And that touchdown essentially put the game out of reach. So, these referees, I understand they're human. You understand the human error and element of it. But some of these calls are rather obvious, and these refs, I guess, just get caught up in the motion of what's going on out there. Nonetheless, Seattle now 10-4. That game knocked San Francisco out of the playoff race. I think that's it for San Francisco. This team, as we've known it, Jim Harbaugh, Colin Kaepernick, kind of the whole structure of that organization, Frank Gore, I think this team now crumbles and tries to find a way to put a winning product on the football field, not only now but for the future, as they have to keep fans happy in this new multi-million-dollar stadium that they've got out in Santa Barbara. Seahawks have a pivotal game this upcoming week. They're going to be playing for the division lead and ultimately the division title, and most likely probably home field throughout the playoffs. They're going to be going out to play the Arizona Cardinals. We're all going to be looking forward to that one. On Sunday Night Football, it was the Dallas Cowboys getting revenge on the Philadelphia Eagles. If you recall back to Thanksgiving Day, it was Philadelphia going out to Dallas and beating them 33-10. The score really didn't reveal what happened in this ball game. Things got off to a bad start for Philadelphia right from the beginning, as on the opening kick, the kick returner, Josh Huff, just kind of misgauged where the ball was going to land, and it was just one of those plays you're rarely seeing where the ball landed on the field and nobody really grabbed it. A Dallas guy grabbed it, and from there it was pretty much good night Irene. Cowboys got up 21-0 in this ball game. Philadelphia just didn't play well, only ran for 75 yards, had 4 turnovers, and that led to Dallas having 42 minutes of time of possession, just dominating on the clock there. That means that Philadelphia's offense was only on the field for 18 minutes, just really wore Philadelphia's defense out. And all the Cowboys leaders stepped up as you expected. Tony Romo, 265 yards, 3 TDs. DeMarco Murray, 81 yards, 2 touchdowns. Dez Bryant, 114 yards, 3 TDs. Jason Witten, 7 catches for 69 yards. So great victory for Dallas. This is a veteran group. They've been down this the last 3 years. Now I think a lot of just experience there and the hunger and the pedigree. So I think they came out and did what they needed to. They're now 10-4 in control of that NFC East division, but they've got a tough task on their hands because this week they're playing the Indianapolis Colts, and they may have to do that without star running back DeMarco Murray, who currently leads the NFL in rushing yards. Suffered a couple broken bones in his hand late in the 4th quarter of that game, had surgery on Monday, so we'll have to see what happens this week. You're hearing a lot of different things about what's going to happen, and you don't know until actually you get an official word, so we'll wait and see. But again, just a great game by Dallas. Philadelphia, on the other hand, getting exposed for what they are. They're a team right now who still has a little bit trouble running the football effectively. Their secondary is in shambles. That was an area they needed to address in the offseason. They have not done that. Those guys they have back there, they just cannot cover anybody. And then you also take a look at Mark Sanchez, and when he was with the New York Jets, the reason that the Jets got rid of him was because he was erratic and not able to throw an accurate football down the field, 15, 20 yards, kind of intermediate game. And definitely he cannot throw the deep ball with accuracy. And so continues to throw high, continues to throw. It's just not an accurate football that he's throwing. He's more or less pushing it. And it's costing him. After that first game that he started against Carolina, where he had 322 yards and 2 TDs, it was all fun and games and fine and dandy then. But now you look up and see Mark Sanchez with 2 interceptions and 4 straight games in which Philadelphia is 1-3 in that stretch. And now you're starting to say, okay, now wait a minute. So, this Philadelphia team, they've got their work cut out. They're still in the wild card race, but they're going to need some help now because they're on the outside looking in. They're a game behind Seattle and Green Bay, who are both 10-4 as well. And then things got wrapped up Monday night. It was the Chicago Bears losing at home yet again to the New Orleans Saints 31-15. Drew Brees and company came in, seizing the moment, handling business. New Orleans now at 6-8 in full control of their own destiny atop the NFC South Division. Drew Brees carved up the Bears defense for 375 yards and 3 TD passes. 2 of those to tight end Josh Hill. You look at Chicago only being able to convert 2 out of 12 third downs. Saints defense really showed up in this one. 6 sacks, 3 interceptions. They held Matt Forte in check to 16 carries for 78 yards. Jay Cutler continues to just be Jay Cutler, I guess we can say. 194 yards, 2 TDs, 3 more interceptions. By the time this one was all said and done, fans were booing Chicago out of the stadium. Running back Matt Forte was quoted as saying, what happened happens. He doesn't know. It's very frustrating. This Bears team can't quite figure things out, and so I know they can't wait till their season is over so they can just regroup and try to figure out what new direction that it is that they want to go in. Saints 443 total yards. Team just continue to pile up the yardage on this Bears poor defense. The Saints have a huge game this upcoming week at home against the Atlanta Falcons. That game ultimately could decide who's going to win that division as well. That's going to wrap up our show for today. I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in and listening on a weekly basis. Again, this is the final wrap, the place where we recap all of your fantasy football and NFL action on a week-to-week basis. Again, don't forget to follow me on Twitter at NFLExporter. Follow me on Facebook.com/NFLExporter. The spelling for both of those is NFLExporter. All right, everybody, have a safe and enjoyable week. Make sure you're here next Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I am the NFL Exporter signing out for the Derek Shapiro Show and the final wrap, 1100.